So disclaimer, the homilies for the next few weeks they all build up on top of each other. So if you weren't here last week or didn't listen to it, might not make full sense, but all the homilies are online to go back to. So he went home after that Christmas Eve, disillusioned. He was upset and disillusioned that candle never flickered, that candle never blew out, or it never came back on, sparked back on by this miraculous act of God, despite his honest request, despite his desperate, honest request. Yet, upon going home that evening, he held on. He refused to let go of the possibility that God existed, that all of those experiences that he had had as a teen were real and not product of his imagination. So he figured he would give it one last shot. As he pondered about why this doubt crept into his life, he concluded that maybe his feeling of God's distance was because he was so busy with work and school in college that he was no longer putting in the work in his spiritual life. Maybe he just wasn't doing enough. And it made sense. It made sense, so he came up with a great idea. He came up with a proposal for God. For the next months, he would continue to just focus on school and work, and God would be put aside on this distance. But because Lent was only a few months away, beginning Lent, he would go all in. He would start praying, he would start fasting religiously. Besides, Lent was a special holy season. Jesus went to the desert for 40 days. He prayed and fasted, and great things happened. The Israelites in the desert for 40 years prayed and fasted, and great things happened. So surely, God would do something for him in this desert that he was experiencing in his life. It was brilliant. The plan made sense. So time went by, and before he knew it, it was the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. That night, he set his alarm an hour earlier. So the plan was to get up every morning, and the first thing he would do is pray. Spend an hour in prayer, followed by an 8-hour fast, followed by abstinence of all food except bread and water. And he would do this for the entire 40 days. He was determined. He was going to go all in to make sure that God would respond. He figured God can't refuse all of the hard work. He can't. So the alarm goes off that morning, and every ounce of motivation that he held just a few hours before are non-existent. And it didn't take long before he hit the snooze button, time and time again, until he was nearly late for class, so he had no choice but to get up. So much for praying in the morning, he thought. He could at least fast. So he's driving to class, and at a distance, he sees this beautiful, glorious M-shaped arch. He felt unusually hungry. He never feels hungry in the morning. And that desire and the thought of a McMuffin was irresistible. But no, it's Ash Wednesday. You have to fast, abstain, besides no meat. And as those arches grew larger and larger, closer and closer, faster than he could mentally reject the idea, just as he was about to pass the entrance triumphantly, he slams on the brake, pulls in. Then feeling the full weight of regret on his shoulders as he's wiping the grease of his fingers in the cloth seat of the car, but not wanting to be fully discouraged, he says to himself, well, today was a failure, but it's only day one. I've got 39 days left. Tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow will be different. To be continued. So last week we focused on the difficulties that come in prayer, especially when God doesn't seem to give us what we want, and therefore we are left wanting more. And we saw how when it comes to God, this makes us very susceptible to searching for God in other places. to wander around like lost sheep is the image that the gospel gave us. And we saw how Jesus sees this and is moved with compassion. And so to help us, he decides to give us in abundance so that we can recognize that Jesus is enough. Now that sounds really good. But coming to that realization that Jesus is enough is not easy. Because there are many habits, there are many ways of thinking that we have that become obstacles to getting to that assertion. So today, we are being confronted with one of those obstacles, one of those ways of thinking, and that is the thought that we need to work for God's favor. The thought that we need to work for God to love us. Now, it is a very logical thing and very natural for us to think in terms of work and results, because that's how we live our lives. Since we're children, what are we told? You got to work hard to accomplish what you want in life, in everything we do. If you want to be financially stable, do good in school, put in the work, get your work done, get into a good job, be smart about your spending, work hard, and you will get a return. If you want a successful relationship, a successful marriage, then put in the work. Have good communication, spend time together, be willing to have difficult conversations, resolve conflict when it can be resolved, or reach a compromise when conflict can't be resolved. We hear this all the time. A relationship takes work. If you want a chiseled body, you got to be disciplined, you got to eat the right foods, get a good night's sleep, exercise a certain way. You do all that, you get results. So in everything that we do, we can achieve results by putting in the work. That's how we make things happen, because nothing in life is free. Nothing. So logically, since this is our daily experience, then our relationship with God should be the same, right? If I want God to be close to me, if I want to be close to God, then I need to put in the work. I need to do my share of the deal. I need to pray more. I need to go to church more. I need to be able to fast properly. I need to do the things that are pleasing to God, sin less. And if I do all of the right spiritual things, then logically, the outcome should be that God will respond to me. God will be closer to me. Why wouldn't He? Why wouldn't God do that if I am putting in the work? That's how we get results. So this is where Jesus corrects us. Because this is how we tend to operate, and we reflect that onto God. Jesus corrects us and says that when it comes to our relationship with God, it is in completely different terms. It's not the same as our own relationships with one another. So last week we saw how people came to Jesus because they wanted to see great signs, they wanted to see miracles, but instead Jesus feeds them, gives them something different. And this was very strange for them. Not only was it unexpected, unsolicited, but they were being fed without having to work for it. They didn't have to sow the seeds. They didn't have to harvest the grain, mill it, make the flour, knead the dough, and bake it. They didn't have to go into the lake and be there for hours fishing. They got it all for free. It was provided for them without even asking. They liked it. I mean, who doesn't like a free meal? Huh? By the way, I am now accepting invitations to dinners at your homes. My only dietary restriction is easy on the dairy. And just in case you're wondering, I really enjoy a nice steak with a gin and tonic. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. Do with it as you wish. Anyway, so people like what Jesus had given them, this unsolicited little gift. And they wanted more. They wanted more because, well, they got hungry again. So they returned. Hey, we're back. You know that thing you did last time? Can you do it again? Can you give us more? Now they were on the right track. They were now approaching Jesus not because they wanted to see Him do signs and miracles, but because they wanted to be fed. However, they still lacked the understanding of who Jesus was and exactly what it is that Jesus was offering to them. Because for them, the spiritual life was satisfied in the very same way that we satisfy our physical needs. They had to work hard for it. So Jesus engages them in this little back and forward conversation. It's a masterful dialogue that we heard today. He tells them that yes, manual labor, what you do in your daily life, it will produce a result. It will give you something. In this case, manual labor produces bread. But a different kind of work is needed for that bread that Jesus was offering. Very different kind of work. This was a difficult concept for them to grasp because, like us, they were so used to thinking in terms of putting in the effort to get something. So they respond, well, we have commandments, they are work. We have been given commandments by God and we do them, and if we do them, then God will bless us. Look at our ancestors. They were in the desert, they followed the commandments, they did the work, and God blessed them with manna. So tell us, Jesus, what do we need to do to get what you have to offer? So then Jesus clarifies, that bread that your ancestors received was not something that they worked for. It's not something that they harvested. It came from God directly. In the same way that if you want the bread that I am offering you, then whoever believes in me will never hunger or thirst. So here Jesus is reinterpreting what it means to work in our relationship with God. It means something different. It means faith. It means belief. Meaning that a relationship with God is not something that we work for, is not something that we do, it is something that we receive and we accept. Now, why is this an important distinction? The work that we do on earth, it produces fruits, and those fruits will satisfy our immediate needs. But those are needs that are ongoing, which is why we are constantly working every day in different ways. We're constantly eating. We are constantly going to work to replenish our bank accounts. We're constantly working out, constantly doing things to keep us satisfied. But faith and belief satisfies a different need. It's not the same as our temporal physical needs. That need is deeper. That need is permanent. And unless a person comes to that realization that Jesus is enough, going back to last week, then just like physical hunger, they will never be fully satisfied. They will never feel like they're praying enough. They will never feel like they fast enough. They will never feel like they're reading scripture enough, going to church enough. I mean, how many of us really feel like we pray enough? How many of us can go all Lent and do all of the things that we're asked perfectly? When we analyze how we ourselves carry out our spiritual and religious duties, we conclude really easily they're pretty mediocre. And that can lead us to either of two conclusions. Either we're not doing enough and we give up, or we're doing all the right things, more than enough, and yet Jesus doesn't seem to care. God does not respond. That's why Jesus says, it's not about you doing the work. It's about faith. It's about belief in me. What does that mean exactly? What does faith and belief in Jesus mean exactly? It sounds very abstract. Well, we'll have to wait for Jesus to expand on that next week. That first day of Lent that I concluded in a complete failure, I went home that night, and in the evening, said, we're going to do this again. I set the alarm an hour early, and I was determined that for the next 39 days, I would put in the work. I would really do it. God would be present in my life again by everything that I was about to do. That morning came, second day. Alarm went off. Once again, no strength, no desire to get up and pray. I couldn't do the work. I can't even remember if I fasted or not. And day after day went having the same feeling. And every attempt at praying, every attempt at fasting or doing any kind of religious exercise only seemed to make things worse. It only affirmed what I was already suspecting, the reason that candle never flickered. God is not real. Because if God was real, if God was that loving Father that as a kid I was taught, then why wasn't He providing for me when I was honestly trying to do all the right things? No. God is not in the desert. There is no bread. There is no manna for me here. To be continued.